Chapter 1. What do you want to sacrifice? So that's how I am going to die in this life, Evan said while lying on the floor of a dark hall. Blood continued to flow out from his back, there was a claw mark on his back and his flesh was completely torn. Whoever caused this injury was very powerful because even his bones were visible from the wound. His head was also bleeding. From the injury of his head it was clear that something very hard hit his head, as even the bone of his skull was fractured. Since the day I opened my eyes in this world I knew that my life will be pathetic. I thought I will die at the hands of some powerful beast or hunter. I even thought I will just kill myself for not being able to improve my own power, but I never thought I will die from blood lose, Evan mumbled as his voice started to fade away and darkness started to engulf his entire vision. I hope in my next life I will be able to enjoy a normal life, and I absolutely don't want to be born with a unique physique, Evan said before the darkness engulfed him completely. But just as darkness engulfed him completely he heard a cold voice. What do you want to sacrifice? Evan, whose vision was engulfed by darkness, heard the cold voice and his eyes opened a little, gaining a little clarity, but he still can't move his head, much less look around himself to search for the person who just spoke to him. Who are you? Evan asked in a weak voice. What do you want to sacrifice? But no one answered his question and he heard the same voice again. Is this the voice of a devil who is here to collect my soul as a sacrifice after I die? Evan thought when he heard the word sacrifice. What do you want to sacrifice? Evan heard the same voice again asking him what he wants to sacrifice. Evan was barely able to think what is going on since he lost too much blood, and his mind was not working properly after the recent events. What will I get after sacrificing something? Evan asked a different question this time, and to his surprise, he received an answer this time. You can get anything as long as the thing you sacrifice holds enough value, the voice replied in the same cold tone. I can get anything. This is the same line every devil says before he asks someone to sacrifice their soul. Evan thought after hearing that he can ask for anything. There is no way I am going to sacrifice my soul to a devil. Even though my life is full of shit, I still don't want to become a slave of a devil by sacrificing my soul. But then what should I sacrifice? Although he is a devil, since it is asking me to sacrifice something, it means it can't do anything to me if I don't sacrifice my soul, Evan thought while his vision started to turn dark again. The effects of blood lose started to show again, and Evan knew that if he closed his eyes he will not be able to open them again, so he started to think what he can sacrifice to heal himself and get out from here alive. Then Evan remembered why he is in this situation. All of this is happening because he possessed something that restricted him from improving his power. Although I don't know if this thing has enough value to heal my injuries, I am not going to lose anything by sacrificing this shit. On the other hand, it will just benefit me, since even if I die after sacrificing it, I will be assured that this thing will not come with me to next life. Evan thought and finally decided what he is going to sacrifice. I want to sacrifice my shadow physique, Evan said in a weak voice, but he didn't receive any reply. Instead, a black smoke came near him and covered his entire body. After 10 seconds the black smoke disappeared and he heard the cold voice again. The origin of this chapter's debut can be traced to N0V3LB1N. What do you want in exchange for your physique? Heal all of my injuries and give me some cores. Although Evan just wanted to heal his injuries, he still asked for some cores. If the voice refused to give him cores, he will back away, but if the voice agreed to give him cores, he will be able to improve his power, because the physique that was restricting him to increase his power will be gone by this sacrifice, and he will be able to use cores to improve his power. Evan waited for some time and the cold voice finally replied, your physique holds enough value for this exchange, beginning sacrificing ritual. Suddenly the entire hall glowed in dark red color, and Evan, who was almost about to pass out, heard the cold voice again. You can't sacrifice your physique in your current condition. You will die if you sacrifice your physique without healing your body, so I am going to heal you first to complete the sacrifice. But because I am healing you first without getting anything, you will receive only 50% cores that I was going to give you before. Evan agreed without hesitation, since he never expected to receive any cores from the beginning. Suddenly the black smoke engulfed his body again, and he found his body started to heal rapidly, and in just 5 minutes he was completely healed. Evan checked his back and found that it was completely healed. Even his fractured head was completely healed. There were no more injuries on his body. Now sacrificing your physique, Evan heard the cold voice again, and the black smoke engulfed him again. But this time, instead of feeling refreshed like last time, Evan felt pain like never before. Arg! A pain-filled scream came from Evan's mouth as he felt his body is being torn apart by something. But unknown to Evan, by sacrificing his physique, he finally awakened something inside him that was being surpassed by his physique for years. Even the person who made the exchange with Evan didn't know that by taking Evan's physique he awakened something that was almost forgotten in history. 12 hours ago. Ring ring asterisk. Inside a small room, a boy was sleeping when suddenly he heard his phone rang. He picked up the phone and heard the voice of another boy. "Evan, what are you doing today? Our group is going for a raid inside a dungeon. Do you want to come with us?" Mike, one of Evan's classmates, asked him. "I have to go somewhere today. You guys can go by yourselves," Evan replied and cut the call without waiting for Mike's reply. After cutting the call, Evan gritted his teeth and said, "This bastard always trying to humiliate me by asking if I want to go into the dungeon with them. He knew that I can't increase my power with the help of those cores." Evan tried to calm down his mind and stood up. Evan looked around 18 years old. His hair and eyes are completely dark black and his skin is pale white, completely opposite to his hair and eye color. He is around 180 centimeters tall and looks really handsome while considering his power level. Evan tried to forget about the call he just received and focused on the thing that he is going to do today. Evan prepared a simple breakfast for himself and while eating looked at his status panel. Name, Evan. Rank, F. Strength, F. Agility, F. Mana, F. Stamina, F+. Intelligence, F. Luck, E+. Charme, D. Skill, Shadow Walk. Physique, Shadow Physique. Title? Job, none. Evan shook his head while looking at his status panel. Only his charm and luck are above the rank F. I should just do what I can do and wait for an opportunity to get some shadow cores to improve my rank. After all, I can only use shadow cores to improve my rank, unlike others who can improve their rank by using any type of cores, Evan said with a bitter tone and looked at his status panel that was showing his details. His gaze stopped on the shadow physique for a second, then he closed the status panel. After eating breakfast, Evan packed his backpack and after confirming that he didn't forget anything, he started to walk towards the door of the room. I hope everything will be fine and I will be able to get at least one shadow core today, Evan said and left the room. Chapter 2. Evan. Damn. How can I oversleep on the first day of my job? I got this job after so many hardships. I really don't want to arrive late on my first day, Ray, a young man, said while running like his life depends on it. While running, Ray bumped into a man. Sorry, Ray apologized without stopping. Young people doesn't have any manners these days, the man said when he saw Ray didn't apologize properly, but Ray couldn't care less about it when he is already late on the first day of his job. But Ray stopped when he arrived at the main road because the traffic signal was red. Why the hell, whenever I come here I found this signal red, Evan shouted in his mind. After 1 minute the signal turned green and Ray once again started to run. Horn asterisk. But when Ray reached at the middle of the road he heard the sound of a car horn, and when he looked towards the sound he saw a car coming towards him at high speed, and before he can think anything else the high-speed car hit him. Ray didn't feel anything when the car hit him. He found himself lying on the ground and saw how the car didn't stop even after hitting him, and soon his vision started to turn red. Ray tried to lift his hand but he didn't feel anything. What is going on? Why I can't feel my body? Ray thought while his vision turned completely red. Everything happened too fast that Ray didn't understand just what is going on, but he started to panic when he wasn't able to feel his body. Someone call the ambulance fast, Ray heard the voice of a man. Ambulance will arrive in 5 minutes, don't close your eyes. Ray heard the voice of the same man again, but for some reason, his vision started to turn blurry. When Ray's vision turned blurry he started to understand what happened. I know my luck is shit, but seriously, I am going to die just after getting a job, Ray thought while his vision turned completely dark. Damn. I should have stayed home and played games. This was Ray's last thought before darkness engulfed him. Ray opened his eyes and saw a familiar but at the same time unfamiliar sailin of a room. Ray was lying on a bed in a small room. Is this a hospital? Ray thought while looking around the room, but for some reason, Ray found this room familiar, but he was sure he never saw this room before. Ray tried to lift his hand and was surprised because he didn't feel any pain. He tried to stand up and was able to stood up very easily. N00V Euro L. S1N hosted the premiere release of this chapter. How the hell my body is completely fine after that accident? Ray shouted when he saw his body was completely fine. But soon he felt something is wrong. He looked around the room and saw a mirror not so far away from him. Ray came before the mirror and his eyes opened wide when he saw his reflection inside the mirror. What the hell is going on? Ray said while looking at himself in the mirror. Suddenly Ray felt a splitting headache and he dropped to the ground while clutching his head. Soon strange memories started to appear inside his head. Arg! Ray screamed because of the pain. He continued to feel the pain for the next 5 minutes and he gained many foreign memories. Evan, Ray said after the pain disappeared. He was drenched in sweat and was lying on the ground. Ray stood up after he finally understood what happened. He looked at the mirror once again. I still can't believe I transmigrated to a different world and a world where you can even use magic, Evan said when he finally understood that he is transmigrated to another world where people can use various skills by the help of mana. Can I also use magic? Ray, who transmigrated inside the body of Evan, wondered as he checked the memories that he just received, but his face turned ugly when he fully checked the memories of Evan. The world Ray transmigrated is called Arora World, and there are many people who awaken special powers. Most of the people awaken their power before turning 16 years old. Evan also awakened his power when he was 14 years old and joined Hunter Academy to train himself and learn more about superpowers. Evan was an orphan who used to live in an orphanage, but whoever awakened their power can join the Hunter Academy for free, so Evan was able to join the Hunter Academy even though he was an orphan. Evan was very happy when he awakened his power because not only he awakened his power, he also had a physique called Shadow Physique. He awakened a skill called Shadow Walk that allows him to turn himself into a shadow and walk freely unhindered by anything. As long as he can provide mana, he can keep his shadow form activated. When Evan joined the academy, he learned how to improve his power. To improve your power, you have to use cores of the monsters. You can get cored by killing monsters inside the dungeons. Cores are very rare and very few monsters drop a core after you defeat it. If you defeat a fire-type monster, you will receive a fire-type core, and if you defeat a water-type monster, you can get a water-type core. But it didn't matter much which type of core you get because you can improve your power by absorbing any type of core. Usually you can absorb only 30% energy of a core, and the rest of the energy disappears in the surrounding environment while absorbing the core. But if you have a fire-type skill and you absorb a fire-type core, you can absorb around 50% of its entire energy. But when Evan tried to absorb the energy from a core for the first time, he wasn't able to absorb it. For some reason his body rejected all energy that he absorbed from the core. At first Evan just thought maybe that core was damaged or something, but soon he found out for some reason his body rejects all energy from the cores. At first, Evan didn't understand why he can't absorb the energy from the core, but then he remembered his physique. Since the name of his physique was Shadow Physique, he used his all-saved money to buy a shadow core and tried to absorb it, and to his surprise, his body didn't reject the energy this time and absorbed it greedily. After finding this, Evan thought about hunting shadow-type monsters to get some cores and improve his power. But the lowest rank dungeon where you can find shadow-type monsters are at least rank D, and Evan is only an F-rank hunter, so even if he wanted he can't get shadow-type core. He was an orphan, so he can't purchase shadow cores by using money, so even after joining the Hunter Academy, Evan wasn't able to improve his power. My new life is already ended even before it started, Arora said after digesting every memory of Evan. Chapter 3: Invisibility Potion. Evan came out of his room and started walking outside the boys' dorm room. It has been 2 years since Ray transmigrated in the Arora World. During these 2 years he completely replaced Evan and took his position in the academy. No one suspected anything because Evan had no friends in the academy. Everyone looks down on Evan because it has been 3 years since he joined the academy, but he is still an F-rank hunter. No one knows about Evan's strange physique except the teachers of the academy. But Ray wasn't bothered by this. On the contrary, he was happy that he will not have to act like Evan when he met someone because no one ever talked to him. During these 2 years, Evan learned how to use a sword. Although he is not an expert in using a sword, after these 2 years he was still able to master basic swordmanship after working hard these 2 years. Evan exited the boys' dormitory and started walking towards the exit of the Hunter Academy. Evan lives inside the Hunter Academy since all students who join the academy can live there for free, but you can only stay inside the academy for 4 years, and this is Evan's last year. When Evan was walking towards the exit of the academy, many students looked at him with eyes filled with disgust. Although Evan's charm is quite high and he looked really handsome, people think of him as a useless man who is afraid of the dungeon and can't enter inside it. Evan didn't care about the looks he was receiving and continued to go towards the exit of the academy. After coming out from the academy, Evan walked for 5 minutes and took a taxi. "City Plaza, please," Evan said to the taxi driver. After sitting inside the taxi, the driver nodded and started to drive towards the City Plaza. Evan closed his eyes and started to think about what he is going to do today. Currently Evan is going to the City Plaza to buy a potion called Invisibility Potion. It's a rank 2 potion that can make you invisible for 3 hours. If you use this potion, no one below rank C will be able to detect you. Evan is going to buy this potion because he is going to enter inside a D-rank dungeon, Shadow Kingdom, alone. Evan did many jobs during these 2 years to save enough money to buy this potion so he can enter a D-rank dungeon. Even before Ray transmigrated here, previous Evan was also saving money to buy this potion so he can kill some D-rank shadow monsters after entering the D-rank dungeon. During these 2 years, Evan wasn't able to increase his power even a little because he wasn't able to get any shadow core that he can use to increase his power. In the end he decided to buy an invisibility potion, so when he will enter inside D rank dungeon, monster won't be able to see him and he will be able to kill them. After 15 minutes Evan arrived in the market area. He paid the taxi bill and walked towards a large building. He entered the building and took the elevator to arrive at the 7th floor of the building where they sell potions and other herbs. Evan came before the reception of the floor where a young man was standing with a smile. When he saw Evan he asked politely, "How can I help you, sir? Do you guys have an invisibility potion?" Evan asked after coming in front of the receptionist. "Give me a minute to check our stock," the receptionist said and looked at the details on his computer. After 20 seconds he said, "We have rank 1 and rank 2 invisibility potions." Evan nodded and asked for a rank 2 invisibility potion. Rank 1 invisibility potion will make you invisible for 1 hour and it can't hide you from D rank monsters. When the receptionist heard this he made a call and soon a lady brought a small box. After giving the box to the receptionist she left. The receptionist opened the box and took out a bottle that was filled with a dark blue liquid. Evan touched the bottle and its details appeared on his status window. Invisibility potion, rank 2. After drinking this potion the consumer will become invisible for 3 hours and no one below rank C will be able to detect him. Evan nodded after seeing the details and asked, "How much is this?" "This potion is our best seller and there are many people who wanted to buy _ The receptionist wasn't able to finish his words before Evan interrupted him. "Just tell me the price. I don't care if this is your best seller potion or worst seller potion. It's just 30,000 credits. The receptionist wasn't offended by Evan's words and said the price with the same smile. Evan's heart skipped a beat after hearing this. He knew invisibility potions are expensive, but he never expected them to be this expensive. Currently he has around 32,000 credits that he saved in the past 2 years. Even the money previous Evan saved is included in it. Evan looked at the receptionist and asked, "Can't you give me a little discount?" "Sorry sir, this potion is our best seller so we can't give you any discount on it," the receptionist said with the same smile. Evan sighed after hearing this, but he still paid for the potion and bought it. "Thanks for your purchase sir," the receptionist said with the same smile that started to irritate Evan for some reason. Evan took the bottle of potion and left the shop. His next destination is D rank Shadow Kingdom Dungeon. Chapter 4 Shadow Kingdom Dungeon. After buying the potion Evan came out from the plaza and sighed, "I just have 2,000 credits left. If I don't get anything inside the dungeon I will be doomed." Evan spent his 2 years of saving to buy this potion so he can enter inside D rank dungeon and kill some D rank shadow monsters and get some shadow cores. There is around a 20% chance of getting a core by killing a monster. Evan is hoping that he will be able to kill around 15 monsters in 3 hours and will get around 3 shadow cores in that period. Evan is praying that his E+ luck will do some trick and he will be able to get at least 3 shadow cores. Evan wanted to get 3 shadow cores because 1 shadow core can be sold at 30,000 credits. If he gets 3 shadow cores he will be able to get his 30,000 credits back by selling 1 core, and he can increase his power by absorbing the remaining 2 cores. After thinking about this Evan started to walk away from the plaza. After walking for some time Evan took another taxi and said, "A Shadow Kingdom please." The driver nodded and started driving towards the north direction of the Estrate City where the Shadow Kingdom dungeon is located. The Hunter Academy Evan is currently studying is called Estrate Hunter Academy and it's located inside the Estrate City. Evan closed his eyes while thinking about the dungeon. The Shadow Kingdom dungeon is one of the most dangerous D-rank dungeon, but Evan still decided to enter inside it because unlike other dungeons you can easily find monsters in the Shadow Kingdom dungeon. Since Evan just have 3 hours he wanted to use them properly, and after seeing the details of all rank D dungeons Evan find the Shadow Kingdom dungeon most suitable for him. Evan took a deep breath while sitting in the taxi. Truth to be told he was quite nervous because it will be his first time when he enters inside the dungeon. Although it has been 2 years since he came into this world he spent most of his time earning money to buy this potion and learn swordmanship. There is no use thinking about it now. I already purchased the potion and I will not be able to stay inside the academy from next year. If I want to survive in this world I have to take this risk, Evan thought, and a determined look appeared on his face. The roots of this story extend from Nouvelle Bean origin. After 2 hours of driving the taxi finally stopped. Evan exited the taxi and paid the bill. After paying the bill Evan looked in front of him where he can see a giant monolith structure. Evan came a little closer to the structure and was finally able to see it properly. It was a huge black monolith structure that was surrounded by high walls. There was security at the entrance and heavily armed soldiers on the walls. Evan took out his hunter card and started to walk toward the security guards who were standing at the entrance of the dungeon. The guards didn't pay much attention to Evan and just asked for his hunter card, but when the guard saw Evan as just an F-rank hunter, he looked at him strangely and asked, "Do you know this is not an F or E rank dungeon but a D rank dungeon, right?" Evan anticipated this kind of reaction, so he was not surprised and nodded calmly, "Yes, I know it's rank D dungeon, Shadow Kingdom." "Are you sure you want to enter inside the dungeon? There is a high possibility that you will die inside with your current power," the guard warned Evan, but Evan just nodded after hearing his warning. When the guard saw this, he shrugged his shoulders and permitted Evan to enter the dungeon. His job is to keep eyes on the people who enter the dungeon and tell them about the danger of the dungeon, but even after his warning, Evan wanted to enter the dungeon. He could not care less about it. Evan came before the entrance of the dungeon, which was a 5-meter high and 3 meters wide portal. Evan looked at the giant hole-type portal seriously, and after taking a deep breath he entered the portal. Upon entering the portal, Evan was teleported to a hallway. Evan looked around him and he just saw dark walls all around him. Evan looked behind him and saw the same portal there. Evan sighed in relief when he saw the portal. At least he is now sure that he can leave from here whenever he wanted. Evan took a deep breath and first took out a sword that he brought with him from the academy. Evan used a paralyzing poison to coat the sword so he can kill the monster more easily. After taking out the sword, Evan looked at the hallway that was leading him deeper in the hall. Evan took out the invisibility potion and looked at it carefully. All novels that I read in my past life mentioned that the potions always taste like shit. I don't know how those authors know how shit tastes like, but I hope I will not throw up after drinking it, Evan said and opened the lid of the bottle. Gulp asterisk, gulp asterisk. It tastes like a chocolate smoothie, Evan said after drinking the potion. I think I can drink it every day in the morning, Evan thought, but when he remembered the price of this potion and his remaining bank account balance, he forgot about drinking this potion every morning. After drinking the potion, Evan suddenly felt like his body started to turn illusionary, and after 10 seconds he disappeared from the place he was standing. Evan tried to move here and there but didn't find anything odd. After he confirmed that the potion was working, Evan started to walk deeper into the hallway. Evan didn't want to waste even a second since the effect of the potion will wear off after 3 hours. And just like he read about Shadow Kingdom, he soon saw a monster sleeping not so far away from him. Seeing the monster, Evan took a deep breath and walked toward it. Chapter 5 Shadow Wolf. Evan stopped 50 meters away from the monster and looked at it carefully. The monster in front of him was a 2 meters tall wolf. The wolf was lying on the ground apparently sleeping. The fur of the wolf was pitch black and Evan was sure that even with his sword it will be very difficult for him to pierce through that fur. Evan looked at the wolf and after hesitating a little he slowly started to walk towards it. Evan's heart was beating like a drum because this is the first time he used invisibility potion and he was not sure if it will hide his presence from this wolf. Although in the details of the potion it was written that if a monster is not AC rank or above it will not be able to detect his presence, Evan was still feeling nervous because if this potion didn't work his life will be in serious danger here. Evan slowly moved towards the wolf while holding his sword. He was walking very slowly so that he will not make any sound. When he was just 10 meters away from the wolf, Evan saw the wolf suddenly open its eyes and looked around it with confusion. When the wolf opened its eyes, Evan stopped where he was standing and even stopped breathing. Cold sweat appeared on Evan's back when he saw how the wolf was looking here and there like searching for something. Luckily the wolf soon gave up and once again returned to sleep. Evan sighed in relief when he saw the wolf wasn't able to detect him even though he was just 10 meters away from it. Evan once again started to move towards the wolf with slow steps. When Evan was 5 meters away from it he stopped breathing and carefully came near it. When Evan was just 2 meters away from it he held his sword tightly and just like he practiced for the past 2 years slashed his sword in a swift motion. Evan targeted the eyes of the wolf so that it will become blind and it was the only place that was not covered by its thick black fur. Howl. The wolf howled in pain when Evan destroyed the left eye of the wolf, and after destroying the left eye Evan didn't stop and immediately attacked the right eye. Since Evan was invisible and the wolf just lost its left eye, it wasn't able to sense the danger and its right eye was also destroyed. Howl. Black blood flowed out from the destroyed eyes of the wolf and it fell to the ground because of the pain. Evan didn't miss this chance and thrust his sword at the heart of the wolf. But just as Evan expected, his sword wasn't able to dig deeper into the skin of the wolf because of its metallic-like thick fur, but Evan didn't give up and continued to thrust his sword at the same place. When Evan was about to thrust his sword for the 5th time he saw how the wolf suddenly lifted its right claw and slashed towards his direction. Evan quickly stopped his attack and backed away from the wolf. The claw of the wolf barely missed him. When Evan saw how even after becoming blind this wolf was still able to attack him, he became even more cautious and moved behind the wolf. The wolf slowly stood up and tried to sniff around it to find Evan, but because of the invisibility potion, it wasn't able to find anything. The wolf started to slash with its claw here and there, but after 30 seconds the wolf started to have difficulty moving its body. When Evan saw this, he quickly understood that the paralyzing poison is finally working. Suddenly the wolf fell to the ground and wasn't able to move its body. When Evan saw this, he quickly came near the wolf and thrust his sword near its heart. Because the wolf wasn't able to move, Evan easily killed it. After killing the wolf, Evan quickly looked for the core. "Please give me a core," Evan said, and looked near the area of the wolf's heart. The cores of monsters are located near their heart. Evan made a hole near the heart area of the wolf with the help of his sword and put his hand inside the hole to look for the core. Suddenly Evans felt his hand touch something solid and his eyes lit up when he felt this. Evan quickly grabbed it and pulled out his hand. When Evan looked at his hand, he found a black round object that was around the size of a golf ball. Evan almost laughed out loud when he saw this. Although it is his first time seeing a shadow core in real life, he saw many pictures of these cores online. "I can't believe this small thing is worth 30,000 credits. I worked more than 2 years to make this much money," Evan said after seeing how the shadow core just looks like a normal marble. Evan carefully put away the core inside his bag, and after looking at the corpse of the wolf one last time, he started to walk deeper into the hallway. Since the moment Evan entered the dungeon, 15 minutes already passed away, so he moved quickly into the hallway, and just after 2 minutes of walking, Evan once again saw something a little far away from him. When Evan looked carefully and saw 2 monsters, one was a cat-like monster and the other looked like a hyena. Both cat and hyena were sleeping. Evan looked at them carefully and decided to kill the cat monster first, because from the looks of it, the defense of the cat monster looks very weak and he should be able to kill it with a single move. With this thought in mind, Evan slowly started to walk towards the cat. When he was 20 meters away from the cat suddenly stood up and looked in his direction. When Evan saw this, he stopped moving and even stopped breathing. The cat didn't look away and continued to look in the direction where Evan was standing. "Don't tell me it can see me," Evan thought, and his heart started to beat like crazy. Suddenly the cat stood up and started to move in his direction. Slowly the cat started to close the distance between them. When the hyena heard the sound of the cat's footsteps, it also woke up and looked at the cat with a puzzled expression. When Evan saw even the hyena woke up, he almost cursed the receptionist who sold him this potion. The cat-type monster slowly walked towards Evan. The monster had the same height as a normal cat, but its fur was pitch black and its eyes were deep red. Even when Evan saw the cat was walking towards him, he didn't move because he can see the confusion on the face of the cat monster. It may have sensed something, but it still wasn't able to detect the presence of Evan. Soon the cat was just 2 meters away from Evan. The cat stopped after coming 2 meters away from Evan. When Evan saw how close the cat monster was standing, he started to sweat buckets. The cat monster sniffed the air after stopping near Evan and made a confused face like its senses were telling it there is something, but for some reason it wasn't able to see or detect its presence. When Evan looked at the hyena, he saw the hyena was looking at the cat in confusion, which means the senses of the hyena didn't detect anything. When Evan saw the hyena wasn't able to detect his presence, he looked at the cat once again and saw it started to walk away from him when it didn't find anything. Evan sighed in relief when he saw this and once again confirmed that he should kill the cat monster first because it was the only one who was able to sense him. Growling, the hyena made a strange sound when it saw the cat monster coming back, but the cat monster didn't even look at it and once again went to sleep. The hyena made another strange sound like it was irritated by the behavior of the cat, but it also went to sleep once again. When Evan saw both monsters once again went to sleep, he sighed in relief and waited for 5 minutes before once again starting to move towards the cat monster with slow steps. Soon Evan was just 5 meters away from it. The nose of the cat monster twitched a little when Evan was just 5 meters away from it. When Evan saw this, he stopped once again and his heart almost leaped out from his chest. When Evan stopped, the nose of the cat monster also stopped twitching. When Evan saw this, he once again started to walk towards it. When he was just 2 meters away from the cat, he slashed at the neck of the sleeping cat with his full power. Just as Evan slashed, the eyes of the cat opened abruptly and it tried to jump away from its position. Although the cat wasn't able to see anything, for some reason it felt great danger and without hesitation, it jumped away from its position. But alas, the cat realized the danger a little late. Even before the cat monster moved a little, the sword of the Ethan reached near its neck and separated its head from the rest of its body. Just as Evan expected, the defense of the cat monster was very weak and he was able to kill it with just a single attack. After killing the cat monster, when Evan looked at the hyena, it was already awake and was looking at the dead cat monster with its eyes wide open. When Evan saw this, he first backed away a little from the cat monster's body and looked at the hyena from a little distance away. He wanted to confirm that the hyena still can't sense his location. The hyena started to look here and there in the hallway. When Evan saw this, he sighed in relief. He was about to move towards the hyena when he confirmed that it still can't sense him, when suddenly the hyena opened its mouth wide and shot a dark energy ball near the body of the cat monster. Evan, who was already standing far away from the body of the cat monster, stopped and looked at the hyena with serious eyes. Boom asterisk. The dark energy ball landed near the body of the cat monster and its body turned into bits of flash because of the explosion, but the hyena didn't stop and shot more energy balls at the different locations in the hallway. Evan, who saw how the hyena was shooting dark energy balls here and there like a mad beast, started to back away in the hallway. Suddenly, by chance, the hyena shot a dark energy ball in his direction. When Evan saw this, his eyes opened wide and he quickly crouched down to the ground. Just as Evan crouched down, the dark energy ball flew past his head, missing him just by a distance of a few centimeters. Boom asterisk. The energy ball landed 10 meters away from him and a 1 meter wide and 3 meter deep crater was formed because of the blast. When Evan saw the impact of the blast, cold sweat appeared all over his body. He quickly stood up and made more distance between himself and the hyena. After 5 minutes, the hyena stopped shooting the dark energy ball and was panting a little because of so many attacks that it just used to find Evan. When Evan saw the hyena finally stop using its dark energy ball and was panting because of using its skills so many times, he quickly moved forward and started to walk towards the hyena. The hyena was still on full alert and was looking here and there in the hallway with cautious eyes. Evan slowly and carefully moved towards it, and even when he was just 10 meters away from the hyena, it still didn't react. Evan stopped breathing when he was just 10 meters away from the hyena and slowly came near it, and instead of slashing at its eyes, Evan thrust his sword inside the eye of the hyena. Surprisingly, even when the sword was about to pierce through its eye, the hyena wasn't able to detect Evan. A light blue aura appeared around the sword just before it pierced through the eye of the hyena, and because of this light blue aura, the power of Evan's attack increased greatly. Evan used the little mana he had to increase the power of his attack, so his attack can destroy the brain of the hyena in just a single attack. He already wasted around 20 minutes fighting against the cat and hyena and can't waste any more time. The sword was easily able to bypass the little defense near the eye of the hyena and enter deep inside it. Howl. A pain-filled howl was heard inside the hallway before the hyena dropped to the ground motionless when its brain was destroyed by Evan in just a single attack. Evan pulled back the sword and saw he used 1/5 of his mana in just this single attack. I will have to use mana more carefully since I don't have much mana, Evan thought, and started to look for the core inside the body of the hyena. Evan used his sword and made a cut near the heart of the hyena to look for the core, but he was disappointed when he did not find any core inside the hyena. Evan came near the body of the cat that was already blown away by the attack of the hyena earlier. There were just chunks of flesh there. The entire body of the cat was destroyed because of the blast earlier. Evan tried to look for the core near the destroyed body of the cat monster, but when he didn't find anything even after 5 minutes, he stopped looking and sighed. The chances of these monsters having a core were already low, so I guess instead of wasting my time here, I should move forward and kill other monsters. 40 minutes have passed since Evan entered the dungeon. He now had only 140 minutes left before the effect of the invisibility potion ends, so Evan moved quickly and started to walk deeper into the dungeon. After 1.5 hours, Evan was sitting on the ground while panting heavily. There were 3 corpses of rabbit-type monsters lying near him. During these 1.5 hours, Evan killed 7 more monsters, but he got only 1 core from these 7 monsters. He now has only 40 minutes left before the effect of the invisibility potion ends, and he still got only 2 cores. I can't go more deeper in the dungeon, or I will not be able to leave the dungeon before the effect of the invisibility potion run out. Looks like I can only leave the dungeon with these 2 cores this time, Evan said with a bitter tone, because even after doing everything he only got 2 cores and he can't absorb them because he has to sell them so he can get his 30,000 credits back and buy another potion so he can once again enter the dungeon safely. It will take Evan 30 minutes to return to the portal of the dungeon, so Evan stood up with a bitter face and started to walk towards the portal. At least I got experience of fighting against these monsters. When I came here next time I will be able to kill them more easily, and maybe I will get more cores next time, Evan said and tried to console himself. Suddenly Evan stopped because he saw a monster sleeping in the hallway. Evan was confused after seeing the monster because he was sure that he killed all the monsters when he passed by here earlier. But Evan then remembered that monsters will once again appear inside the dungeon after some time when you killed them. The monster in front of Evan was a wolf-type monster, the same type of monster that he killed when he first entered the dungeon. It will take me 25 minutes to reach the portal and I still have 35 minutes. I should be able to kill this monster in 10 minutes. Maybe I will get a shadow core by killing it, Evan thought after seeing the shadow wolf. Evan slowly started to walk towards it like last time and didn't make any sound. Soon Evan was just 10 meters away from it. The nose of the sleeping wolf twitched when Evan was just 10 meters away from it. Evan stopped walking and held his breath so that the wolf won't detect him. Soon the nose of the wolf stopped twitching and Evan once again started to walk towards it. When Evan was just 1 meter away from it, he slashed his sword at the eyes of the wolf. But just as Evan slashed his sword, all hairs on the wolf's body stood up because of the danger, and without even opening its eyes, the wolf tried to roll away from its location. Although the wolf reacted super fast, Evan was still able to slash at the left eye of the wolf. Howl. The wolf howled in pain when one of its eyes was destroyed. Evan tried to attack the wolf once again while it was still recovering from his earlier attack, but just as Evan was about to attack it, the fur of the wolf shined in ominous black light. When Evan saw this, he quickly stopped his attack and backed away from the wolf. Just as Evan backed away from the wolf, a cloud of black smoke came out from its body. When Evan saw the black cloud, he felt a chill run down all over his body because when the black smoke touched the hard floor of the dungeon, it started to melt. Evan can't even imagine what would have happened if he was a second late to back away from the wolf. The cloud of black smoke surrounded the area of around 2 meters near the wolf. Evan looked at the cloud from a little distance and hoped that the paralyzing poison will soon take the effect and the wolf will be paralyzed. After a minute, the black cloud disappeared and the wolf monster once again appeared before Evan. One of its eyes was destroyed and black blood was coming out from it continuously. After the black cloud disappeared, the wolf started to back away slowly and tried to retreat from there, but because of the paralyzing poison, its legs were shaking and it dropped to the ground. When Evan saw this, he didn't wait and quickly charged towards it, and after coming near the wolf, Evan slashed his sword at the other eye of the wolf. Howl. The wolf howled in pain and black blood flowed out from its destroyed eye. After making the wolf blind, Evan easily killed it. Evan wiped the invisible sweat from his forehead and looked for the core. Evan made a hole near the heart area of the wolf and started looking for the core, and when his hand touched something round and solid while searching, his eyes lit up and he quickly pulled back his hand. When Evan pulled back his hand, there was a black marble size of a golf ball in his hand. When Evan saw this, a big smile appeared on his face because now, even after selling 2 cores to get enough money to buy another invisibility potion, he can improve his power a little with the help of this core. Evan quickly put away the core and stood up to leave the dungeon, but just as he started walking towards the portal, black smoke came out from the black walls of the dungeon and started to gather at the same place. Soon the black smoke started to turn solid and took the shape of a flying-type monster. When Evan saw the monster, he can feel that the monster was just D rank like others, but for some reason, his heart started to beat faster and faster. When the smoke completely solidified, a bat-like monster appeared before him. When Evan saw the bat-like monster, he almost cursed out loud. A 2-meter-long and 1-meter-tall bat-like monster appeared before Evan after the black smoke solidified. The bat was pitch black with crimson eyes, a 1-meter-long tail was coming out from its back, and the end of the tail was shaped in a strange way like a claw of a beast. After the bat appeared, it looked in the direction of the dead wolf. When it smelled blood, Evan was standing a little far away from the corpse of the wolf. After seeing the corpse of the wolf, the bat opened its mouth and released sound waves from its mouth. When Evan saw this, he knew that he will not be able to hide from the bat with the help of the invisibility potion. As you all know, bats navigate and find insect prey using echolocation. They produce sound waves at frequencies above human hearing called ultrasound. The sound waves emitted by bats bounce off objects in their environment. Then, the sounds return to the bat's ears, which are finely tuned to recognize their own unique calls. So when Evan saw the bat using echolocation to find him, he knew that he is doomed. Evan didn't wait for the bat and started to run toward the portal, but how can Evan run faster than the sound waves? Soon the sound waves returned back to the bat after bouncing off from Evan, and the bat was able to find his location. The bat quickly flew towards Evan, who was running towards the portal. When the bat-like monster arrived at the location from where the sound was reflected, it didn't find anyone, so the bat used the echolocation location once again. The sound waves once again spread throughout the entire hallway and reflected back to bat, and it was once again able to find Evan's location, who was 150 meters away from it. When the bat looked in the direction from which it once again sensed Evan, it didn't see anything, and bat finally understood that his enemy is using something to hide, so it can't see him with its eyes. The bat was a rank D monster, so it was quite intelligent. This time the bat didn't use echolocation, instead it came near the location where it last sensed Evan and opened its mouth wide and screeched in high-pitched voice. When the bat-like monster screeched, Evan, who was around 70 meters away from the bat, felt a splitting headache and fell to the ground. Evan clutched his head and gritted his teeth to not make any sound, but because of the attack of the bat, the ears of Evan started to bleed. After 5 seconds the bat stopped its sound attack, and this time even without using echolocation it was able to find Evan because of the blood that was flowing out from his ears. When the bat stopped its attack, the headache of Evan also lessened quite a bit. He stood up with trembling feet and looked in the direction of the bat, which was also looking in his direction with its deep crimson eyes that were filled with murderous intentions. When Evan felt the blood dripping from his ears, he knew that he can't hide from the bat now, and it was more than clear that he can't outrun the bat and reach the portal before the bat attacked him again. "I guess I spent all of my luck when I got 3 shadow cores just by killing 11 monsters," Evan said in a bitter tone when he saw the bat flying towards his direction. "Even before I entered here I knew that the chances of my dying here are very high, but I still took the risk because I don't want to live a useless life." Evan held his sword tightly in his hand and a determined look appeared on his face. "I may die again today, but it will be better than living like this every day." During these 2 years, although Evan tried to live a normal life, deep down he felt empty because every morning he woke up and go to hunting classes alone to learn more about this new world. After the classes were ended he go to learn swordmanship, and after his swordmanship class he will have to earn money so he can buy invisibility potion that can help him improve his power a little. During these 2 years, instead of living, Evan was trying to survive in this world. He has no friends, every person in the academy looked down on him. When the memories of these 2 years came into Evan's mind, he felt like even if he die here it will change nothing. Thinking about this, all fear that Evan was feeling disappeared, and he looked at the bat who already arrived near him. The bat came flying towards him and opened its mouth to release sound shockwaves. The sound shockwaves traveled towards Evan, who jumped sideways just in time to dodge the attack. The shockwaves were like an unstoppable force that even destroyed the hard floor of the dungeon. Evan quickly looked at the bat once again after dodging the attack and tried to think of a way to attack the bat, because while the bat is flying he can't attack it. Evan looked around him and saw many stones the size of a golf ball. These stones were broken from the floor of the dungeon after the attack of the bat. Evan quickly moved towards them and picked up 2 stones. Just as Evan picked up 2 stones, he once again jumped sideways to dodge another attack of the bat. After dodging the attack, Evan didn't wait and imbued a little mana in the stone. If he used a normal stone to attack the D-rank bat, Evan knew that with his pitiful strength he won't even be able to scratch it, let alone harm it. When Evan imbued a little mana into the stone, a light blue layer appeared around the pitch-black stone. Evan didn't wait any longer because the mana of the stone started to disperse in the surrounding environment when he stopped putting more mana into it. With all of his strength, Evan threw the stone toward the bat, which once again opened its mouth to attack Evan. The stone traveled like a meteorite and hit it at the center of its forehead. Shrink! The bat shrieked in pain when the stone was able to pass through its defense and black blood flowed out from its forehead. Because of the sudden attack, the bat lost its balance and started to fall down from the sky. When Evan saw this, he held his sword tightly and charged toward the falling bat. Chapter 9: Fight to Death. While running towards the falling bat, Evan imbued little mana to the second stone in his hand and just like before threw it towards the falling bat. This time the stone hit the bat near the stomach area but wasn't able to pierce through its defense. But the pain of being hit by mana-imbued stone still made the falling bat shriek in pain. Thump! With a loud thump, the 2-meter-long bat fell to the ground. Before the bat regained its senses after falling, Evan came before it and slashed his sword at the eyes of the bat. When the bat sensed the danger, it swung its 1-meter-long tail that was shaped like a claw at the end towards the face of Evan. When Evan saw the tail that was approaching his face like a whip, he stopped his attack, but the tail was too fast so he wasn't able to dodge it and can only use his sword to defend against the impact. The power of the D-rank bat was too much for Evan, who is still an F-rank hunter, so when its tail clashed with his sword, Evan was thrown 5 meters away from it because of the impact. Because of the impact, Evan's hands were shaking and he felt like the bones of his hand are almost fractured. Evan stood up with difficulty and found the bat once again flying up in the sky and was looking at him coldly with crimson eyes. Its forehead was still bleeding because of his earlier attack. The bat used his wings and dived towards Evan with high speed and came before him in an instant. Evan wasn't even able to follow the movement of the bat because its speed was too fast for him to see. When he realized the danger, the bat already appeared in front of him. After coming before Evan, the bat used its front claw and tried to cut off his neck with a single sweep. Evan tried to dodge the attack by jumping sideways, and because of his fast reaction, the claw of the bat missed his neck and wounded his left shoulder. Evan cried in pain when the bat ripped a large portion of his shoulder. The left side of his shoulder became completely red because of the blood. Evan fell to the ground after dodging the attack, and even before he could stand up, the bat once again flew toward him. Evan, who fell down to the ground face first, was trying to stand up when the bat reached near him in an instant and used his claw to dig it deeper into the back of Evan. Evan cried in pain when the bat started to absorb his blood through its claw that he dug into his back. The bat attached itself to the back of Evan with the help of its claw and continued to absorb his blood. "Damn you, even if I die here I am going to take you with me," Evan shouted because of the pain and rage, and used his shadow walk skill. Suddenly Evan disappeared and turned into a shadow. The bat, who was absorbing his blood with the help of its claw, fell to the ground when Evan suddenly disappeared. Because Evan didn't have much mana, he quickly came out from his shadow after freeing himself from the bat and used his sword to stab the eye of the bat. There was a large wound at the back of Evan, and even his bones were visible because of the wound. Blood continues to flow out from his wound. Because Evan suddenly appeared before the bat using his shadow walk skill, the bat wasn't able to react in time, and one of its eyes was stabbed by the sword. Shrink. The bat shrieked in pain and black blood flow out from the destroyed eye of the bat. Evan didn't stop after destroying the eye of the bat and used the little mana he had. A light blue layer of mana covered his sword, and he slashed the sword at the neck of the bat. When the bat felt the danger of death, it used its tail and tried to stop the sword. The tail and sword clashed, and the hand of Evan shook because of the impact, but the tail of the bat was also severed in two because of the increased power of the sword by mana. A fountain of black blood erupted from the severed tail of the bat, and it shrieked in pain. Evan's hands were trembling because of his earlier clash with the bat's tail, but he didn't stop and once again slashed his sword at the right eye of the bat. Because of the pain that bat was feeling after its tail was cut off, it wasn't able to evade the attack, and its right eye was also destroyed by Evan. Evan was feeling dizzy because he lost too much blood and was on the verge of passing out. His whole body was aching because of the injuries, and he knew that there is very little hope for him to survive even if he killed the bat. After destroying the eye of the bat, Evan was about to finish off the bat when it suddenly opened its mouth to release a sound shockwave attack. Evan quickly reacted and thrust his sword inside the head of the bat. He used all of his remaining mana in the attack. Although Evan reacted quickly and his sword even dug deeper into the head of the bat, it was still able to release its attack. Evan was standing too close to the bat, and his vision already started to turn blurry because of the blood loss, so he wasn't able to dodge the attack of the bat. The sound shockwave hit Evan, and he flew backward like a broken kite and crashed against the wall of the dungeon. The wall of the dungeon crumbled because of the impact, and Evan found himself lying on the cold floor of another hall room that appeared after the wall of the dungeon crumbled. Chapter 10, A New Physique, Part 1. When Evan crashed against the wall of the dungeon because of the attack of the bat, the wall crumbled and a new hall room appeared behind the wall. Evan was lying face first on the ground of the floor room. This new hall room was completely dark. There was no light inside this hall room, but even if this room was as bright as day, it would not matter to Evan because after taking the attack directly from the bat, his consciousness started to fade away. Blood was flowing out from his wounds and a puddle of blood formed near him. Suddenly the blood started to move on its own like it was being attracted by something, but Evan, whose vision already started to turn black, wasn't able to see anything. The blood moved deeper into the new hall room where a small platform was located. An octagram-shaped picture was engraved on the small platform, and in front of the platform a strange statue that was pitch black was located. The statue looked like a human, but there was a long horn coming out from its forehead, and from the features of the statue it was hard to determine whether it is a statue of a male or a female. The statue was 5 meters tall, and the horn that was coming out from its head was 1 meter long. Evan's blood moved towards the platform and came into the contact with the octagram engraving. When the blood touched the engraving, all 8 points of the octagram lit up and started to absorb the blood of Evan. The color of the octagram started to change, and soon it turned into light red after 1 minute. When the octagram turned light red, the eyes of the statue also lit up into light red color, and Evan, who was just about to pass out from the blood loss and injuries, heard a cold voice inside his mind. "What do you want to sacrifice?" Present time. A pain-filled scream came from Evan's mouth after he was engulfed by black smoke once again. Evan never felt pain like this before. He felt like someone is slowly tearing him apart from the inside. Suddenly the black smoke that engulfed Evan started to enter his body through his eyes, nose, mouth and ears. N00V EuroL, S1N hosted the premiere release of this chapter. When black smoke entered his mouth and nose, Evan started to have difficulty in breathing. The pain of sacrificing his physique was so intense that the pain he felt while fighting against the bat felt like a blessing. Tears started to flow out from his eyes that turned completely pitch black because of the smoke that was covering his eyes entirely. After 30 seconds, Evan was on verge of passing out from the pain, and just as he was about to pass out because of the pain, the black smoke that entered his body started to come out. Soon all the black smoke that entered his body came out and started to move back from his body. "I have successfully extracted your shadow physique." Gavin heard the same cold voice again. While lying on the floor, he was breathing heavily and his vision was blurry. Evan wanted to curse this bastard, but he wasn't even able to move his fingers because of the exhaustion. "Here are the cores that I promised to give you after taking your physique." Gavin heard the cold voice again and something dropped near him, but he wasn't even able to move his head to see what it was. But Evan wanted to check, can he really absorb other cores now that his physique is gone? So he mustered all of his strength and looked at the black smoke that was floating some distance away from him. For some reason Evan was able to see everything clearly even in the darkness. Evan didn't pay any attention to it and was about to ask can he absorb other cores now when he felt a sudden pain in his heart. The pain was even more intense that he just experienced, so Evan passed out in just 1 second. Just as Evan passed out, a black aura erupted from his body and covered the entire hall room, including the platform where the octagram and statue were located. As soon as the black aura touched the statue turned into dust, and the black smoke that covered Evan previously also disappeared from the hall room. The 8 sides of the octagram stopped shining in light red color, and soon even the platform turned into dust. The hall room turned pitch black because of the black aura that was coming out from Evan. Thump! 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 Evan's heart started to beat faster and faster, and in this silent hall room, it was like someone is beating a drum. An illusory black round ball size of rice grains started to form inside Evan's heart. The ball was pitch black and was like it will engulf anything that will come near it. Evan passed out the moment this illusionary black ball started to form inside his heart. The illusory ball started to turn solid as time passes, and after 30 minutes it turned completely solid like a black marble, but its size didn't change. Just as the black ball turned solid inside Evan's heart, his black hair turned completely dark, just like the ball that formed inside his heart. The color of his hair was so dark that it felt like it will swallow even the light if it came near it. The black aura that was coming from Evan's body started to retreat inside his body and was swallowed by the strange black ball that formed inside his heart. Even after the black ball was completely formed inside Evan's heart, he didn't wake up and continued to sleep. Many changes appeared in his status window after Evan lost his shadow physique, and the strange black ball formed inside his heart that he will find when he will woke up.